Do you ever find yourself having a bit of a heated internal debate about whether you've got the pricing right in your business? I know that for a lot of people growing a business, price is one of the most difficult and probably one of the most uncomfortable areas of business. It brings up all sorts of questions about worth, about value. It really does have a huge amount of emotion connected to it. So it brings up lots of questions about what's my value, what's my worth, what's my product or my service worth, what does value really mean to my customers? Am I cheap? Am I expensive? Am I ripping people off? Am I completely getting this wrong and selling myself too cheap? So it can be a huge quagmire of an area. So I wanted to share this week a few hints and tips around thinking about price differently, and also thinking about the importance of attracting the right customer, putting out the right message, and doing that in such a way that actually your price could become almost irrelevant if you've actually got the customer focus right. So the first thing to think about is that there's really no such thing as too cheap or too expensive. So let's say somebody who drives a Ford Fiesta might well look at somebody else in a Ferrari and say, wow, that is an expensive car. But the person driving the Ferrari is just a completely different customer. This is a whole different target market. So to them, that's not an expensive car. They probably think that's amazing value, and to them, it's not a huge amount of money. Whereas they would look at the person driving the Ford Fiesta and think, blimey, that thing's cheap as chips. Neither of those things are right or wrong. What they are is right for their own customer segment. So, for instance, if Ford put out an advert for the Fiesta, but they were trying to appeal to incredibly high net worth individuals, it wouldn't make any sense whatsoever, would it? Whereas if Ferrari suddenly started to put out marketing appealing to your typical office worker, shall we say, then they might draw them in, they might get really interested, but then they get to find out the price and realise this absolutely isn't the product for them. So the key thing is not about how much you charge, but about whether what you charge is right for your own marketplace. If you think about your own buying decisions, one of the big questions is often, does the price match my expectations? And when you have a figure in your mind for what you expect somebody to charge, when they match that sort of figure, then it actually says to you that my judgment of this person or this business is right. And that says you've got dependability and reliability and great things like that involved in that. So that says to you, this is the right supplier or the right thing for me to buy, the right supplier, the right product. So that's the first thing. Too cheap or too expensive doesn't exist. It's all down to the target market. Now, the second thing is that this whole concept of too cheap and too expensive is entirely subjective. So let me give you an example. I have recently been looking for some marketing support in my business, and I have to confess that I get my virtual assistant, Kylie, to go and do all the research for me. And the reason I do that is because I happen to know that because I talk about price and because I encourage quite a few people to put their prices up, because most people are massively undercharging in small business, I know that actually people do quite often chance their arm with me. Because I talk about charging what you're worth, people think that they should actually put more onto their price when they come and deal with me. But interestingly, Kylie looked into a few different marketing suppliers recently, and there was one in particular that I was very interested in working with. But when their price came through, it was significantly less than I had expected it to be. And that actually put me off working with them because I had a broad figure in mind for what their fees would be. And that figure said to me that those people know what they're talking about. They must be getting demonstrable results for their clients. They must have a lot of clients. They must be doing quite well. So when their quote came in significantly cheaper than that, it raised a lot of questions for me about, well, do they actually not have as many clients as I think they do? Are they not really getting the kind of results that I believe they are? Have I not judged these people as accurately as I believed I had? So it put me off working with them. So this is one of the crucial things around getting your price right. And the key is not to focus on price. It's all about focusing on the customer and what the customer expects and needs and what the customer believes value to be. So that's the second element. Cheap or expensive is completely subjective to your customer. Now, the third crucial thing is that actually, to the vast majority of customers, price is much less important than value. Now, value is made up of a huge realm of different things. The most typical things are quality, dependability, reliability, trustworthiness. Are you going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver? Are you actually going to generate results for me, the buyer? So it's not actually about what is it you're doing. It's very much what is it that I get. Is this giving me what it is that me as the customer is really seeking? But value can also be about the personal elements. It could be about relationships. So it could be about working with somebody who you really like, who you get on with really well, who is fun to work with. You have great banter with them. You actually might really want to work with somebody like that, even though they're more expensive than the guy down the road who seems to do the same service, but this one's just more fun to work with. So you perhaps would pay the same, if not a little bit more. But equally, you might also say, well, I have great banter with this one, but maybe sometimes that goes a little bit too far. Maybe we're too friendly, or actually this is a lifelong friend, and the lines get a little bit blurred. But these are all the things that come into play when a customer is contemplating what value really means to them. So value is a very tricky proposition. You need to also think about value to the customer is about things like complexity and time and hassle saving. So it's not necessarily about you're going to deliver the customer this or the customer gets an hour of your time. It's more a case of what does that hour of time deliver to the customer? Does it save them time? Does it get rid of some hassle? Does it make something incredibly easy? Does it get something off their desk? Does it make something happen? So these are all the things that also go into the whole question of value, because I'll tell you now, taking something off my desk and making it happen, that's worth good money to me. And I dare say it's the same to you. So the final thing to think about is that somewhere down the line, somebody should be telling you you're too expensive. Because if nobody ever tells you you're too expensive, or if every single one of your inquiries turns into business, those are two signs that actually you are probably not charging enough. So somebody somewhere should be telling you that you are actually too expensive. That tells you that you are about right. So in conclusion, price is much less important than value. Value is driven by your customer. It's entirely subjective. There's really no such thing as a right price and a wrong price. There is really just the thing of totally understanding your customers. So instead of spending hours thinking about how do I get my price right, what should I factor in, how much should I charge, if you were to invest that time really getting to understand your customer and getting an incredibly clear picture of what value means to them, then you might just get to the stage where you make price almost irrelevant for that customer. So if you would like a bit more help with your own price, then drop some comments in below, or if you've got any feedback on this video or blog, whichever format you're reading it in, then please leave a comment below or drop me an email if you've got any additional questions and I will happily help you.